Hey everybody, it's Kathryn, the Big Vision Coach, and welcome. Let me get my microphone in front of me. And this is the One Command Master Your Money Mindset group. And this is the Wednesday webinar. We do this every Wednesday at 2 p.m. That is the goal. And today, what I want to talk about is how to create an abundance mindset with the one command. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here because we want to change the way that we're thinking. We want to get better results. We want to have a more abundant life where we have freedom to, one, just be our, wacky selves. We want the freedom to express. We want the freedom to create the life on our own terms. We want freedom to travel. We want freedom to create businesses. This is what we're after, right? And we know that we are living in a rich, juicy world, that there's so much to see and taste and experience. And we have a sense that we're holding ourselves back. And so we start this investigation. This is what everyone does, right? We go, hey, I'm noticing people who make a lot of money seem to have a different way of thinking and being. Why is it different for me? Is for them? And as we first start going on our investigation, first we might argue with reality, right? We might say, well, that's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. But I can't change it. I wasn't born in the right place. I was the wrong gender, the wrong religion. I had the wrong parents. And then we go through all these different phases of acknowledgement until we finally come to that decision that we truly have the power to create something new. And what I've noticed is the people that are in this group are just, they have that awareness of what's possible. They are having the desire, but they haven't quite crossed over. And I have been noticing there's a quality of conversations that I've been having, not only with my clients and then some of the students. I've noticed that I'm hearing my own conversations a little differently. I mean, this is a process, an abundance mindset. Wayne Dyer said that is something that you acquire. It is not something that you attain. And so we somehow think that if we get to this one right place, we'll get every single thing that we want. And the thing is that once you get there, there's the next place to go. And right now, I just want to say welcome to wherever you are or however you find yourself on the journey today. Now, this is one of those topics, too, that's interesting. I started doing some research on how this is, talked about out in the world, even by other mindset teachers. And what is interesting is that even mindset teachers, and I'm going, oh, hi, Lizelle. Hello, Alex. Are still operating in a smaller mind. They're operating in what we call the ordinary mind. And let me take off here we go. Let's see if we can make this work. The ordinary mind. And the ordinary way the brain works, it's this or that, okay? It's on or off. It's us or them, okay? And I made some quick notes here. So there's hierarchy. So that would be the parents are more important than the children, or a job, the people who provide the jobs are more important than the workers, us or them, that type of working. It's survival based and there's limited supplies. There's judgment, which is always this culling out and separating, okay? And eliminating. And then you're measuring yourself against who the other is. Now, I'm going to be talking about some of this. We're going to be talking about this in the theta brainwave. Then we're going to be talking about this from the standpoint of the one command. Here's the other thing. I tell stories, and I've got, and I tend to tell personal stories, and then I use some examples from my own client files. So if that's okay, we're just going to go ahead and tell Kathryn stories because this is something that I really had to personally overcome. So, what is the other way of thinking? What is an abundance mindset? Like, I'm going to post after the group here where it's like, hey, where I've got a little chart that I found that I'm going to show you how you can use some of these ways of thinking that whenever you find something where you go, I want that, how can we quickly incorporate that with the one command? Okay, so what is this expanded or this abundant mindset? Okay, so in the and we call it theta thinking because we are out of that limited default thinking into more an expansive, creative way of thinking. So when we're in this theta abundant mindset, it's this and more. What an amazing, I mean, if you got no more than this, that if once you said, I don't know how I generate $5,000 a month and more, I only know it so now, and you allowed yourself to be in that space of not knowing how you could ever get more than what you desire, that this became your normal way of thinking, your life would totally change. That if you could accept that idea, okay? So it's equality. One's not more important than the other. The parents' needs are not more important than the children. And in American society, it's kind of gotten flipped to where the kids are ruling the roost and the parents are just running themselves silly, trying to provide every single thing and depleting themselves to the point that they can't actually be what the child needs, right? So that's the old paradigm. But the new, it's like, hey, there's equality. And the way I think about that is if it's works for you and it works for me, then it's the right thing to do. Unless it works for both of us, we're not going to do it. So that's an abundance mindset. And there's a lot of people that are not in that space because they think in order to get, they have to give up. And that's what we've been taught, right? So the other is that there is this acceptance and this space of gratitude at whatever you're experiencing. And this one's kind of a tough one. I was on a call last night with in the one command circle, and there was someone, and she was like, well, what if someone doesn't like you? What if they actively hate you? And I was like, well, that's actually none of your business. Your job is to, within you, to create enough, to create and change within yourself, to be responsible for your thoughts and what you are sending out into the world. And if we can accept that we're having this experience, then when we're in the abundant mindset, even if we're in a space of lack or loss or what would seem like a struggle, if we can accept where we are, we have this interesting presupposition, and we're going to talk about that wherever you are is exactly where you need to be to take you to the next space in your journey to your success, that all paths lead to your success. And this is part of abundant mindset, that there's no such thing as loss in the universe. And I'm going to touch on that for a minute because we have people who remember back in 2008 when the market just went insane and people lost, the housing market crashed, jobs crashed, Wall Street went insane. And a lot of people who were doing all the right things suddenly were in the same place as people who had not taken any responsibility at all. And they're like, how did I get here? Suddenly they had no savings, a 401k, and everything they thought was doing right. And so we were having a lot of conversations at that time with our clients is like, hey, there's no such thing as loss in the universe, and we're going to show you why. And so we're going to touch on that today. All right. And I say, hey, I see Maureen, I see Alex, and we got some other folks. So Alex is sending me bunches of love. I see Nancy, and I appreciate you all being here with me today. And then it's a thriving, and here's the other idea with an abundance mindset, that whatever challenge, whatever block, that is the way. That there's actually nothing that can stop you, that whatever you come up against, you must be able to handle or deal with. Now, we always, I first kind of got that idea, I'm the oldest of three, and there was this assumption that I must be able to handle things because it's right here. right? I must be able to take care of my sisters. I must be able to do the schoolwork if it's being given to me. I must be able to do this, even if I was struggling or not. But that idea that I must be able to do this if it's in front of me, I think has probably been a really powerful talisman. I must be able to do it. Now, I might not know how, but I have the ability to figure it out. Okay. So, this is one thing that I just want to invite you to suspend your disbelief on, that there's this idea that you can't learn or that you can't change, or just because you failed that you can't overcome. I want to invite you to just open yourself to the idea, and for this hour, that if it is in front of you, you must be able to do it. Okay? Can we just kind of like get a little thumbs up on that? Yeah, if it's here in front of me, I must be able to do it. Okay? So I want to tell a little story because that's going to frame some of the things that we're going to talk about today. And then we're going to bring in some strategies. Okay? So back when I was first starting my practice, when I had left the apartment industry, I mean, I made this big leap after years and years of struggling to say, oh my gosh, I figured out how I can get out of here. And I developed a really just simple pathway to have classes out of my house. And I knew if I had gave information talks and get, taught the classes and created opportunities to just share what I did with people, then the students would come, the one-on-one clients would come, but I really focused all of my attention on promoting my class. And my number one strategy to do that was to build relationships with people who already had groups. And I met a lot of negative thinking in Dallas, Texas, in my holistic, beautiful, spiritual community with amazing people who are still my friends today. And what was interesting, the first thing that I was told was, well, you know, it's Dallas. We're here in the Bible Belt. And there's going to be a lot of people that don't understand what you do. They're not going to accept the stuff you're talking about. I was like, well, thank you so much for pointing that out to me. That's kind of a given. Of course, there's people that aren't going to give it, but who I'm actually looking for are people who are actively seeking this kind of work and the solutions that I have. And who I'm actively seeking are people that as soon as we meet, they're just going to love me and want to work with me. So thank you for pointing out that those other people are there, but those aren't my people. So what did I do? Okay, how often do we allow ourselves to get into that discussion and even oppose negativity, right? I don't want you to oppose negativity in the world. Just be on guard of it and do not be on guard for it and do not accept it. And you can accept it lovingly, you know, not accept it lovingly and graciously, just like I did, right? It would have been so easy to go, why, oh, why, of all the places in the world that I set up my business, why did I choose Dallas, Texas, of all the places? Well, it turns out I did a little investigation, and I love astrology and astrocartography. It turns out that Dallas, Texas, this actually supported later, is one of the best places in the world for me to be, especially if I have, it said, an alternative or unusual business. So I actually got feedback, but once I talked to people and I, you know, lovingly did not accept their negativity and their limiting beliefs, then I just said, well, who I do like, what I do want instead, I said, here's the people I want. But then I said, here's who I really love working with. I love working, you know, when I'm doing my one-on-one coach is like independent business people type, because they've got to face their fears and limitations and doubts every day. So, and they've got to take control, and they take 100% responsibility for their mindset. And I want people who are actively working on it. So that's the next point that I want you to really get, that what got you here is not going to get you there. And you have to have 100% responsibility for what your thoughts and your attitudes are regarding your mindset. And some you may be aware of, some you may not be aware of. In fact, most you are not going to be aware of. Okay? But whatever you are confronted with, accept the fact that it needs to be ready to change, or maybe you need to reframe it in a way that is more empowering rather than limiting. Okay? So when we're in our business, it's so easy to compare ourselves to others, and that's the regular mind. It's me or them, or they're doing it this way and this is the ordinary way of doing it. But the abundance mindset says, well, I need to think about another way of doing this. So how can I change my way of thinking? How can I change my thoughts around this? Right? They do not go into, well, what my dad told me and what my family said and what my abuse story is. Now, those stories are really important and that we honor them. But those abuse stories, unless you are remembering the part about how you overcame it and how you took control and how you advocated for yourself and how you made the decision to live an empowered and empowering life that frees other people, that so that they don't have to live through the loss and struggle and pain that you did, that story has no place. Okay, and you need to take responsibility for giving up that story. I'm going to tell you with the most love, from the bottom of my heart, and it's the hardest thing to do. But once you allow yourself to switch out of your past way of thinking and then to put your attention on this forward future way of thinking, hey, who must I become? Who am I willing to become? What am I willing to adapt in order to achieve that which I desire, in order to be that person that wants to truly be a force for good in the world and help others? What thoughts, images, what do I have to give up in order to become that person? And what do I have to accept about myself? Like, one of the things I accept about myself is my rebellious nature. I am going to be a rebel. I'm not going to want to do it exactly step 1, 2, 3. And even though I want to do step 1, 2, 3, it's 1, 2, A, B, 3 to the ninth power. And then, hey, look, I found a 4. And instead of 1, let's do a Y. I mean, that's just the way my brain works. And once I stopped fighting that, it actually became easier to do the steps because I wasn't in the struggle. That was a little side. I don't know who needed that. But taking that responsibility for your thoughts and your thinking, and to say, okay, I'm willing to accept criticism. I'm willing to examine it, and I'm willing to sit with this and heal whatever needs to be healed in me in order to change this thinking. Here's the thing that you need to understand about your thoughts. There's a couple of things that I want to share with you. One, if you were to pay attention to your thoughts and you could record every thought that you had in a day, for the most part, you're going to find that those same thoughts cycle every hour unless there's an interrupt. If you're thinking about a problem or like you want to build your business or that type of thing, you're going to cycle back to the ordinary way of thinking. Okay, and this is our natural default, and that's the beta brain. So just understand that it is in our nature to be to be cyclical in our thinking. And some of those cycles are reversed, and we call that polarity. Okay, and so we will have thoughts that are negative and harmful that actually we think are good and empowering. And an example of a negative polarity would be if I were to do something called muscle testing. And a lot of you who are in our group are familiar with that. If we were somehow to test your body for the belief about whether or not, if you were a smoker and we were testing about whether or not smoking was good for you, you would positively test that smoking is good for you, even though, of course, it's not good for your lungs, it's not good for your cells, it's not good for anyone who has to be around you. It has social ramifications. People can't get jobs anymore if they're smokers. I mean, there's so many, you know, ways that smoking harms you. But they have this emotional connection and they have this belief that smoking's good, and it's created this negative polarity. And so it's very easy to flip a polarity. Sometimes we can do it with tapping, but we can also do it with the one command. And sometimes we can just do it with our thoughts, like, oh, well, I don't know how to flip my thinking on that. I only know my thoughts are flipped. Okay. And this is probably one of my favorite things to do. I've been actually working with people. If I go, well, if you could think about that pattern, how would that pattern be running? That pattern of, you know, like this thought about smoking's good, even though we're talking about money. Smoking's good. Well, it would just kind of like be with this. If it were a record, it would be running like this. Great. Well, if you wanted to, if we just took our hand and went backwards and we unwound all the ways we thought about that, and we just went into smoking is bad for me, I wonder what would happen. How many people felt the energy on that? Like, I'm not even a smoker and I felt the change, right? We can actually just use our hand. And I've been adding the one command and working with my hand with some clients and having them track their pattern. So there's an energetic component to our way of thinking. So here's the next thing to know about your thoughts. Okay. Most of your thoughts and decisions come as a result of an emotion. There's something that happened, you had a feeling, and then you told yourself about it, and the thing you told yourself about it became a belief. And then the belief got supported by our thoughts. And our thoughts are basically, think of it as a question that we're asking, like, oh, I got to get to the store today, and I got to take care of the groceries. Okay. Oh, what time am I going to do that? Well, I guess you could do it around 3, but then there's going to be traffic and it's going to be hard, and you got to make sure you do all this, and there's just not enough time. And why do you have to go to the store? And then all that comes up, right? This is the same thing that happens with your money. And most of that got set in place, one, when you were small, before the age of 7, when you were small and powerless and at the effect of others. And some of these thoughts may not even be your own, that you just adapted, that it only made sense to be, limited in your mindset. Okay. Um, and there's good reasons. Sometimes we have these beliefs about being good people and to be limited and to not take too much. Does that sound like ordinary thinking? Absolutely. That's how we were conditioned in order to be good. But in order to be truly great, you must allow yourself to come into this expanded way of thinking. And the things that made it possible for you to be safe and secure and operate in your family system is not going to be the thing that's going to take you to the level that fulfills your deepest, truest dreams. Okay? So, continuing with the story, here I've met the negativity, and then I said, well, what do I need to think about? How do I want to think about this business? So I took that 100% responsibility. So then I'm getting results. Things are starting to happen. And Asara comes because I'm promoting a workshop, and she comes and she sees that, oh my gosh, Kathryn, 6 months ago, you were commanding to live in your own house. Look, you're in your own house. I go, yeah, this is amazing. And you're teaching classes out of your house. How's that going? I said, my classes are full every month. I can only accommodate up to 12 people in the house. And I'm doing 3 classes. I'm doing a class every month. And then every 4th month, I'm doing a class. And then clients are coming from that. And I got the circles going, and I'm plugged into this community, and she starts meeting the amazing people that are my friends and my referral partners. And I just take her around and I introduce her to everyone that is in my world. And she's just like, you have amazing friends. These are just great people. And look at this, And so you're getting these results, you're living the dream, and you got these great friends. And then we were having these classes that talks, and every talk that we gave, we were getting 30 and 40 people to all these events, just like people, it was just filling up. And Asara was just like, I can't believe this, and then it's like, let's book some appointments. Yeah, the appointment calendar filled up immediately, and then we had to go to phone appointments. And it was like, this is fantastic. And I go, I know. And she says, so what's the problem? Like, why don't you seem excited? And I went, yeah, I don't know. It seems like I would be doing better. Here in 6 months, I've, over tripled my income, right? And I went from being totally isolated to having all these friends, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, and people are inviting me to things, and opportunities are happening. I'm going, I don't know. I just got this weird sense I should be doing better. Well, what would make you think you should be doing better? Well, what I hadn't incorporated inside of myself was the sense that this was real. And I was so used to struggling, I didn't really think that there was actions that I wasn't taking because I was afraid of loss. So she said, well, what would be doing better? I said, I don't know. I think I would be, people have a session with me, they love it, but they're not really booking more sessions. She said, oh, are you calling and following up on them? Well, that would be a basic thing. We did this beautiful session. The sky opened and love came in, and they had this big heart shift. And she said, well, are you calling and following up? And I went, no. And she's like, well, I said, well, what if it wasn't real? What if this way that I helped them wasn't real and there's this other problem? She said, well, that would actually be why you call, to make sure everything's okay and if there's any other way you can help them. But what was my presupposition? That somehow I had failed them and that I would lose them as a client. If I never called them back, they stayed a potential client. Do you get that? What are you not following up on? First thing, there's something you should do. You've done something, but then you didn't take the next action. That's a sign of an abundance, of a scarcity mindset. Okay. So that was the first thing, and it's fear-based. And then the next one was, well, what else? What else would be happening? And I said, well, it seems like if people really enjoyed the sessions and they got the benefit, they would be telling their friends. But it's kind of like I'm some secret resource. Remember I said I was kind of doing business with what we could call straight people, ordinary people. And that maybe they wouldn't want to tell people that they were working with a kook like me, right? So in a weird way, wasn't I treating myself like somebody's spiritual side chick, right? So in a scarcity mindset, I wasn't a source for their good. I wasn't someone they could care for or help. In my scarcity mindset, had this fear of being ridiculed, and I wasn't in my proper place in the relationships as a trusted authority in their life. Wow. Wow. I mean, that was a big shift where I realized I had this kind of emotional, I'm on the side and people might not like me, and I don't want to give that up because then what if I don't know what the fear was, right? But I wasn't in my proper place in authority. And then finally, she said, well, what else would be happening? And I said, I don't know. I guess I would be getting more new business. It seems like I'm kind of in this community and everybody's kind of coming from here, but it seems like I didn't realize what I was thinking about there was this quantum leap. I just kind of felt like there was some growth that was kind of happening and everything was kind of circulating. And I didn't want to be feeding into, um, I didn't want to want it to be, I don't know, where we got into this kind of codependency, and I didn't want to stay at that level. I didn't understand that there was this sense that there was something greater that I was capable of. So the way that I enunciated it was that somehow I must not be enough. Okay, I must not be doing enough marketing. I must not be doing enough, speaking. I must not be doing enough networking. But I had this sense that there should be someone from outside my regular circle that now they would have started hearing about me. So we did commands on all of those. So this is a key point, that when we're in the scarcity mindset and we get this sense that there's this change coming, somehow that maybe it's a new growth, there's a new opportunity that's going to be coming, there's more money coming in, what we desire could actually be coming to us. Our default is a negative thought about ourselves or our circumstances. We may be noticing that we have a negative belief pop up about the world and the world's acceptance about us. We may actually feel a little paranoia. You could feel some irritation or agitation. Now, what that's actually a sign of is that you're moving outside of your ordinary paradigm. Okay. But so often we try to fight and dismiss these negative thoughts and feelings. But if you're in an abundance mindset, what are we doing? We're accepting where we are, how we feel, and we have the courage to sit with it for a minute. And as I said before, this is a sign that there's change. And there's a part of you that may feel a little disrupted. And you're going to be making your friends feel a little uncomfortable. And your family is going to be feeling a little uncomfortable. And they may actually try to, in either a positive way or a negative way, bring you back into their comfort zone. And it is not to stop you. The tribal mental, that scarcity, tribal brain, that herd mentality is, we're going to keep you close, even if we have to kill you, we're going to save you, kind of thing. We got to keep you close to keep you safe. And if you go out there, you can endanger the whole herd. Okay, that's just that old way of thinking. And so we could go. So we, once we acknowledge it and we can sit with it, then with the one command, we could say, I don't know how I'm free to expand my way of being. I only know that we're all safe. I only know that as I expand, everyone in my life is free to expand too, right? We can't take responsibility for where they are. We can't argue with where they are. And so often we'll go, well, my family, they're this kind of people. They're this religion. They're that nationality. Right? I don't want to say because it sounds like I'm insulting, right? But I can say, oh man, my family, they're just a bunch of redneck Baptist Texans. What are they going to, they love me, but Lordy, they don't know, right? If I got to meet my Texan meets their Texan, right? But I could argue with their reality. Well, their reality is nothing to do with my reality, right? So when you notice that you have come up against this, you are meeting your scarcity mindset at some very deep levels, and to sit with it and to be kind and compassionate with it, and then just allow yourself to have a new idea about your story and what's possible. Okay. So that was a big shift. So what happened as a result of that conversation? Well, Sarah took me through commands that were very specific, like I don't know how. When I don't know how I follow up with my customers and they are excited to hear from me. I only know that I have a great relationship with my existing customers, and I don't know how my customers are referring other people to me. I only know it so now, and I am fulfilled. And then the other was, and I don't know how I'm getting opportunities outside my circle. One, that was important to me because one, I didn't want the codependency, but two, that was the signal about that I'm on the right track, right? That was one of the signals I wanted. And so when I said, yeah, and I don't know how I have new opportunities come from outside my circle, I only know I do now, and I felt relaxed, and I immediately I didn't focus on why I was having negative beliefs, but once I had the new awareness, then the why appeared. And so many people do that backwards. They try to figure out the why, and then they try to go into what the strategy is, and then they want to form a one command based around that. Don't worry about why it's that way. Do the command, allow yourself to expand into this new awareness, and then the why and the understanding comes after. Asara has this great saying that the understanding is the booby prize. And if it's, and she always asks, is it okay if we get the benefits and the learning without ever knowing why? Yeah, we don't have to examine every single thing in order to make a change. We just have to be open to examining what is before us in an open, loving way, knowing that if it's before us, it must be a way for us to advance. It's just a new parameter. Okay? So then we did that, and I felt better, and I got this understanding. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I had not been following up. So there was action I wasn't taking. I wasn't actively asking for referrals, which was how I built my whole apartment career. I absolutely know how to get referrals. And then I know too how to take my successes and explain it to other people, where I said, hey, I'm getting these results in my community, and to open doors and start conversations with new people. And suddenly I had this whole new sense of what was possible, and I was excited to do it. So one, if I got nothing more than this new way of thinking about it, having some strategies coming in and being open to opportunities, that would have been fantastic, right? That would have been like, yes, that's a win. So we're in the car, and all this happened, by the way, at the IHOP. If you're in another country, you know what IHOP is. It's International House of Pancakes, and it's basically a breakfast breakfast place. And we're doing this over pancakes, guys. Okay, so this is not like a deep session we were doing. We're having this conversation. So we leave the restaurant, we get in the car, and we are going to the first of our meetings. And I get 3 phone calls. And the first phone call was a client who said, oh, Kathryn, hi, I don't know if you remember me. We worked a couple of months back, and I wanted to see if you had availability. Like, yeah. And then the next phone call was someone who said, hey, Kathryn, I've got a friend who I was telling about you, and she really wants to work with you. Can I give her your number? I'm like, please give her my number. And then a call came in from an association and asked me if I wanted to give a talk that day, or give a talk in the next month. And I was like, oh, I would love to. And this all came in. But then the other thing that happened within like, I would say, even within 48 hours, it was this fast. It was 3 new clients, 3 referrals, and 3 opportunities popped in. And because I happen to believe in threes, and so my answer started coming back to me in a way where there was no doubt in my mind that it was the result of working with Asara. Okay, it was the result of this one command. All right. So right now we've got some folks on there. Is this making sense? Are y'all with me? I see we've got Bari found me. Thank you. Linda Dallas. I see Sue, Mary, Amy, and Tomorrow. Thank you so much. I'd love to, if you've got a question right now, this is a great time to ask a question. And then we're going to do some commands. Okay. I'm going to take a little sip here. All right. Fantastic. So I love getting measurable results. Thank you. All right. So we've talked about the difference between the ordinary mindset, the theta mindset, which is an expanded mindset. We talked a little bit too about how this initially gets set in through, we have an experience, then we tell ourselves why we had the experience, and this creates the thoughts, and then this actually goes into part of our neurological pattern, and it has a frequency, and it has a cadence and a rhythm. And we talked a little bit about, how the energy, and there is a frequency to it. Okay. So that is your default way of thinking. And then we have all of our experiences that condition us, that we accept. And then we have our life experiences. And then we want to do something new, right? And then what is the first thing our brain does? Our brain goes backwards. It goes, yeah, well, I'd like to start a business, but I remember I tried it before and I failed. Or I talked to my boss about a raise before and my boss said no. I tried this before and I failed. Here's the thing that I want you to get, that just because it happened in the past, that was based on your old way of being. Every result that you got up until now is based on your old way of thinking and being. And to some degree, your scarcity mindset was at play. And it becomes a filter for your reality on how you look at everything. And your mind is set up to avoid failure and loss. But what is just as true, that in the past, there was learning, there were opportunities, there were blessings and benefits. And because you are thinking in this negative scarcity way, you're literally blocking off your old blessings from manifesting and from being a lesson and being a way that your mind can generalize and normalize your future abundance. Yeah, because normally what happens is like, yeah, I used to have this great job and I loved it and there were great people, but then a new company came in and then I lost the job and then it just things just weren't the same after then. Well, what happened was your brain said avoid losing a job at all cost. And what is and then, because it's so efficient, it says, oh, if we never get a job, we can't lose a job. And your beautiful brain. Oh, thank you, beautiful brain. So we could say, well, maybe there were some things in my control, maybe there weren't, but I don't know how I can take the lessons from that loss. I don't know how I can take all the benefits from that experience and bring it forward. Because what did you do? You had the ability to get a job, you had success, you made some innovations, and what will happen is we will block off, especially if there's been a loss, and we will literally freeze like the assets of our experience, right? And to where we can't quite say, I don't feel like myself anymore, because your identity switched from being someone who is a success to someone who loses, someone who is at a loss. Your core identity is someone who is not worthy because you're just going to lose it anyway, like your mom told you, right? And all that starts linking backwards, and this becomes how you start viewing the future. Well, this is why we want to undo that emotional hitch that's kind of inside of you. That's why we want to deal with this energetically. And whatever thought or memory comes up, we just flip it with the one command. Because when we're in the one command, we are pausing that loop. Remember I said our thoughts are like on a loop. As we motor drive your brain into the theta brainwave by rolling your eyes up, the first thing that happens is it gets still. And then it starts to open. It says, oh, new information must be coming in. Then, when we make this statement, I don't know how, the brain immediately goes, we don't know how? Okay, so now let's go even quieter because new learning must be ready to come in. And then we state what it is that we want in the powerful, positive way, presupposing that all the conditions will be right. Now, the reason this is important is I have so many people, like we had someone on the call last night, and I don't remember who it was, but she was commanding for a house and some acreage because she has this big vision of having a place for rescues, so she could rescue dogs. And then what she added in was, and I have enough money to support it every month. Well, I said that is the thought that's stopping you because what you're presupposing is loss and struggle. And your mind is not going to move you forward to loss and struggle. What you need to presuppose is that if you had the wherewithal to manifest this big, beautiful house and the acreage and everything else, you must have the way in order to support it. Everything that it took to create that house, that level of income, there'd be no reason to think that it wouldn't stop or that you'd have the ability to create another level of income, another way of income. And that's the abundance. If there's one way, there must be two. If there's two, there must be four. If there's four, then there must be 40. And it starts expanding out in exponential. It goes out in tens and hundreds and thousands of ways of normalizing and generalizing into your reality. Okay? So when we are making the commands, we are presupposing all the conditions are right for you and they're coming in to alignment with your highest and greatest good. And as it comes in, and if something comes in, you go, well, yeah, I like that. And here's what I need to add. Here's what I need to clarify this. And you can just go ahead and add on to it. Be present to it. Notice how you're creating. If you've ever decorated a room, if you've ever set up your bedroom, right? If you've ever written a poem or a story, if you've ever done anything, you always create it and then you look at it and go, how do I adjust it, right? And how can I make it even better? Well, so often with the one command, everybody tries to focus on what is that one thing you got to say to get that thing, right? And we need to build in that it's okay to allow your creation to unfold and that you can continue to speak with it and work with it until it's right for you. And then the world is going to start meeting you. It's going to start sending some signs and signals. And we talked about this a little bit on the synchronicity last week. And one of the things is you will have some false manifestations. And it's not a negative thing. It's just like, you know what? It looks right, but it's not quite right. It's missing a key element or it doesn't quite feel, it's not landing. And you could say it's coming at the right time, but it doesn't have the right feel. I don't feel at ease and it doesn't feel like, you want that aha, yes feeling when it comes in. That's how you know it's the right thing. If it comes in and it's like, okay, yeah, that's good. It's not quite, that's not it. Go, thank you. And here's the clarification. Here's what I want. Scarcity would say, oh, I better take it. I better grab it because another one might not come. But abundance mindset says, I am free to continue to create and ask for what I want, confident that what I desire will be given to me. It comes down to, guys, this, that you feel worthy and able and within yourself and deserving of asking for your needs to be met, for your desires to be filled. And if you're noticing that there's something in you that it feels wrong to ask or to say yes or to say no, even, Asara says until you can learn to give a really clear no to what's not right for you, you will never have what you truly want or desire. And so there is a courage in saying no to what's not right for you. And that's being in integrity within yourself. You don't have to sell yourself or give yourself away in order to have that which you desire. But what you do have to do is provide value and to be present and be willing to, in a way, give and share your gifts freely. Give your essence freely, knowing that there's more right behind it. That we're giving these teachings out, and I feel no sense of fear that someone's going to see this and, hey, what if they try to copy you? Well, there's no one's going to tell it the way I do, and there is a resonance and vibration to the people that I'm born to serve, and who are born to be my clients and students, and there's nothing that can come between that. And I know that the more I give generously from my heart with love and integrity, the more that's going to be brought back into my life. Here's the next piece. Whatever state, whatever's before you, I said this before, and that is to be in a space of gratitude. There was a time in my life that I was completely starting over and I had lost literally everything. And I was having to sleep on a borrowed air mattress on the floor. That was after sleeping on the floor for a couple of months. And I just went to, went and let everybody I knew know that, hey, I'm available for work. And, just kind of said, hey, here's the truth about my situation and here's what I need. And I was able to get a job and miraculous things just started happening. But I think the biggest miracle that happened was that a friend gave me a book called Power to Praise by Marlon Carruthers. And it's a Christian book, but he said this really powerful thing, and it was praise God for all things, not just the things that you like, because you can't know what good is going to come as a result of your current situation. And I totally grabbed a hold of that. Like when was laying on the floor and all I had for dinner that night was some crackers and milk, literally because my first paycheck hadn't come. I was going, I'm so grateful that I have crackers and milk. I'm so grateful that I have this shelter. I'm so grateful for this time in my life. I'm so grateful. And and people were just commenting on my attitude and my energy. And like I started a new job that popped up as a result of looking for an apartment. And just one beautiful little sink happened after another. And even the first day on the job, talking to the boss of the person that hired me, said, how much are we paying you? And I told her, and she gave me a pay raise on the spot. And she said, well, you're supposed to be paying 50% on your apartment. I'm going to go ahead and include an apartment with your salary too. Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I was not arguing with anything in my reality, which I had. And this is what a lesson for you, that whatever you are experiencing, and I had to acknowledge this, I had consciously and unconsciously created this. So my creation had manifested perfectly. Whatever you're experiencing, your creation, whatever you have created in your life, consciously or unconsciously, you want to bless it, release it, and open yourself to your next creation. Okay? When you move into that space of being that conscious creator, it frees you to, one, not be limited by your decisions in your past. And it's going to keep you from this guilt and this shame, and does put you in a space of 100% responsibility, which is so freeing. Okay. So bless everything you've created, even if you created it unintentionally, and then make the decisions like, okay, this is what I created. What do I want to create next? And show love and appreciation to all your creations. Let the lessons go and dissolve so that energy is released from you. Okay. And then you can accept this next thing. This frees you up to go into this next greater experience. And so it turned out me losing everything. Actually, I thought, you know, I've had everything figured out, but it brought me into this greater state of awareness and connection to source. And I got over some of my isolist ways, and I had this freedom to just tell the truth about who I was, and the world met me in this beautiful, loving way. And that's how I have the courage to, go out and market my business. And, someone said, Kathryn, you show too much on Facebook, even about your private life and telling your story. I said, I am committed to living my life in front of the world. I've just made that decision that that's what I'm going to do. Everything says hide and separate, and things can be taken from you. But in this age, there's really no way to guard against it. Like an analogy would be, think about, Andy Rooney did this great bit about fences. And he said, it's interesting. Anytime there's a mean oppositional fence, the world finds a way to knock it down. But if there was a fence built to be a place of beauty, and there's a gate open and it's to enhance the environment, there's a way that the world welcomes it and relishes it. And so think about those beautiful little picket fences. Like they're not really going to stop anything, right? But look how it frames the house and you feel welcomed and drawn in, even though there's a clear boundary. That's what I've got. I've got that picket fence mentality. Come on by. I've got a porch and I'm going to leave the blinds up. I'm living in front of you and I feel safer and clearer because of that. I don't feel worried. I feel this sense of protection around this because, um, you know, these negative forces are seeking fear. They're seeking that limiting and that scarcity mindset. That is the level of vibration that it's at. But I'm choosing to operate at a higher vibration. And this is what the invitation is here. Okay? So we want to come into the space of gratitude of everything that we've created. Okay? So let's do some commands. All right? So I just want to align to you heart to heart. And in this place, let there only be love between us. And the Master Creator in me greets the Master Creator in you. And just roll your eyes up. We're just already aligned. This talk has already prepared you. So now just go ahead and roll your eyes up. And I'm going to make the commands. I don't know how. I am awakened to an abundance mindset. I only know that I choose abundance now. I am choosing new thoughts. I am creating new feelings. I am opening myself energetically to accept this new paradigm of abundance into my life now, and I am fulfilled. And just let that idea go. Let your eyes relax. Let that expand out to an idea even greater that serves more good in its fulfillment. I don't know how I bless all of my creation. I only know I bless my creation now and I go free. Thank you. And I don't know how I am drawing on my resources. I unfreeze my assets from the past. I only know I am awakening and restoring all of my gifts, my skills and my resources, all of my wins and my successes now to create future success. And I am fulfilled. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this, I don't know who this is for. I don't know how my abundance mindset resolves and dissolves all of my debts and restores all of my losses. I only know that I am restored, I am forgiven, and I am resolved to living and creating an abundant life now, and I am fulfilled. And let all that go, let that expand out to an idea even greater that serves more good in its fulfillment. And now just feel yourself coming back down as one whose needs are beautifully and magnificently met as an abundant co-creator of your good. And we're going to unwind any of that old family programming. We're going to expand our borders and parameters to be free. Yes, yes, yes. We're going to let that rewind. Woo! Yes, yes, yes. And just start saying yes, start pulling that in. Now, there's one more little idea I want to close this loop, and I want to be sure and share you. I didn't even have time to get this written up, so I'm going to tell you about two things. But before I tell you about this one little piece to really get about the abundance mindset, I want to mention that up here in the comment bar, like on the bar on the side, it is for me, that says this Saturday I'm going to do a quick little training on how to consciously create that abundance mindset and how to live from that state of being. Okay. And in that, we're going to make sure we're going to have hot seats and we're going to do a lot of commands to get this cleared. But we want to not only clear the past, but we want to create a really dynamic future for you so you actually have some action steps and the measurables. And how do you get that 3-time, 10-time, 100-time return on your creation? Just like when I said, hey, that one client called, but it turned out it was 3, and then that led to this and it led to that, right? So I'm going to show you those strategies that you can put in place for you and how you can start getting the signs back from the universe. Now, all you have to do is to like the comment, like this page, like this video, and I will send you a private message, and then an email is going to be going out, and I will post it in the group today. It's going to be this Saturday. Usually when I do these little classes, it's from 10 o'clock Central to noon Central Time. And the price I will have listed, but it is super duper affordable. And then I also will be posting, and I always let people know how they can work with me one on one. But the easiest way, if you want to work with me one on one, just hit me up in a message, and we'll set up a time to talk to find out what's going on and if I can be of any help to you. And then we go from there. Okay. So some people just need a little topper, and some people, have some work that they're committed to doing. So I never just list, hey, here's my price on that. I don't know yet how I could help you. So I think the best way is to have a conversation. Okay. So here's the last little thing I'm going to leave you with on this abundance mindset. Okay. And it's this, that there is no such thing as loss in the universe. Now, I'm saying this as a person who lost every piece of jewelry that my mother ever gave me, and it is not sitting in my jewelry box today. Okay? But I can take the blessing of that, of the gift and that intention, that what she wanted me to have. My mom wanted to pass something on to me that I could carry with me forever to remember her. That was her intention. Okay? And for a long time, I walked around with shame over, well, you can't give me nice things because I'll only lose it. Okay. And we'll have people that said, well, I had my retirement and that got taken away. Um, we've had people that they had money straight up stolen from them. They have things that because of their old beliefs, they struggled for a long time, and now they're in this awakened state, and they said, oh my gosh, there's all that money I could have had, and now I don't have it, and now I'm going to struggle in the future. Now I don't have the benefit of that. And what they don't understand is they're stopping their thinking and the blessing from flowing. But if you think about this and just bring it down to the energetic again, any matter, like here's my phone, and if we were to melt this down, and all the molecules that make up the matter are going to be exactly the same, even though it may not be in the form anymore. Matter never dissolves, it only changes form, right? And it's the same is true with energy. Energy never dissolves, it only changes form. And when energy and matter come together, it creates objects in the world, right? And so if we bring it down to that energetic level, every time we say from our scarcity mindset, I had it, but I lost it, we're literally stopping the flow of whatever that was to be transformed into something that is your greater good. Do you get this? We are stopping it when we said, I had it, but I lost it, and we have all this shame, but then we don't think that we can replace it. So we did a command today about, I don't know how my debt is forgiven. I don't know how what I've lost was restored to me. And when I talk about restoration, I always think in terms of what you had before, but it's brought up and enhanced into modern, to meet your modern needs, right? If you were to restore a 1930s house, you'd make sure it had Wi-Fi in it and more electric plugs, and the lighting would be improved, and you'd bring in the windows, but it would still have that beautiful grandeur and have all the architectural elements that you like. It still had that feeling of the original house, but better. Well, that's the same thing. And that's exactly what I was talking about with the jewelry. I have my mother's intention, and I have all the richness, and I have all the lessons and the benefits. And now, if I wanted to have more jewelry, I can have more jewelry, but it's just never been that important to me. But when I did the first time, I went and bought a piece of $350. I bought a necklace that was $350. It was a workshop. I literally got all anxious and upset because it was going against how I had a belief about myself. So I actually had to do some work on that, going, I'm sweating. I think I'm going to faint. Oh, what is going on? Well, I was going on beyond my rule that I couldn't be trusted with jewelry. And I, by the way, 20 years later, I still have this beautiful necklace that I went out and bought. And I still have all of my jewelry that I've bought and acquired since then, right? So, but I got the learning and I got the blessing. But anything can be restored to you, but you will still come up against your limits. And when you meet those limits, just notice it, bless it, and make a command for something to be good. But whatever you counted as a loss, stop. I'm just going to say it. Stop thinking that way. Don't do that. But what I'm actually want to invite you to do is go, hey, I wonder how that being taken away from me, I wonder how that experience can take me to my greater good. I wonder how that experience of having my entire paycheck um, disappeared, right, taken away from me, it could lead me to having even greater abundance in the future. When we allow ourselves to wonder and not know how, that sets the unconscious mind on that new path of like, oh, well, we just certainly have positive experiences, we have negative. I wonder how it can bring me more. Then it sets out on creating more for you. We're not going to hang up on the story of all the loss and what should have happened and how we were wronged and betrayed. Those stories are not going to serve you. And that's just ego stroking. And that's just an excuse you're giving yourself for not really taking responsibility for what it is that you want. Little tough love from Kat here today. But the freedom that comes from that, of being that conscious creator and being in this state of wonder and openness, and linking that negativity to your positive outcome, then you're going to get to take that learning and the blessing. It's going to allow it to transmute and come into a new form that serves you in a higher and better way to a greater sense of fulfillment. And that, I don't think any one of us could ask for any more. And I couldn't wish for anything more for you. So I hope that this has been beneficial today. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Um, and if you have any questions or you want to see about working together, you want to get information about the class, shoot me a private message and I'll make sure that you get some information. I want to be sure and ask you to invite some people to the group so that more people can get the benefits of this learning. And all you got to do is just share the link to the group in your Facebook page and just let people know about it. I have a big vision for this group and you are a part of it. So until next time, my darling, this is Kathryn Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and I witness your mastery. Bye-bye. Mwah.